Hi, and welcome to Berry Aftercare. I thank you truly, truly from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for joining me tonight. You've heard this little expression before, so here I go, jumping right in. I scream, you scream, we all scream. Because we've all engaged in self-sabotaging behaviors before. And when we engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, we scream at ourselves, either out loud or in our head. Tonight's segment is all about self-sabotage. And it may not be night where you are, but it is night where I am. And I am not home in Atlanta. I am in Maryland visiting some good female friends, having some important women bonding time, doing all kinds of walking and yogaing and spying and do things like that for yourself. Those are non-self-sabotaging things. Those are healthy behaviors. So get out there and make some friends and do some fun things in your life. Tonight, as I said, self-sabotage. I'm my own worst enemy. We've said it, we've done it, we've lived it. We're talking about self-sabotage and your weight loss. I'm going to outline the major topics for tonight, and then we're going to talk about each one of these a little bit more in depth. We're going to talk about what self-sabotage is, and I'm sure you've had some experience with this in one area of life or another, as we all have, so you know what self-sabotage is, but I'm going to give you a little bit more insight into the definition. What are some examples of self-sabotage when it comes to the weight journey? Again, probably not going to be telling you too much there because chances are you could list out many ways that you have engaged in self-sabotaging behavior in a lifetime or several years, or maybe it's been decades of weight loss programs. Most importantly, we're going to get into how do we overcome the self-sabotaging behaviors so that you can go on and meet your goals of living at a healthier weight for your body and engaging in the healthier activities and the kinds of things that you enjoy in your lifetime. So let's start with that definition of self-sabotage. The word sabotage itself literally means to intentionally destroy. Kind of powerful language there. To intentionally destroy. And what that boils down to in terms of your weight loss journey and your bariatric journey is that any kind of negative thoughts, some negative feelings that lead to negative behaviors is going to interfere with your progress toward living that healthy lifestyle that you have said that you want. It will destroy. And remember, destroy is the meaning of the word sabotage. It will destroy your reaching your positive goals. Now, I'm going to say that I think sometimes there are some subconscious sabotaging behaviors, even though the word or sabotage means to intentionally destroy. I think it would be fair to say there are a lot of times when we sabotage ourselves and it's not necessarily consciously intentional, but some subconscious behavior going on here. But the words destroy your reaching your positive goals. That's pretty strong. So we're going to dial it back just a little bit so you don't throw in the towel, which is something that's already way too easy to do. Throw in the towel, give it all up. It's all or nothing. Many of you have done that before in the past, and we want to make this experience the one that works for you in the long run. No returning to those old behaviors because of self-sabotage and other things time and time again. This time you're going to learn the skills, you're going to equip yourself, you're going to employ those skills, and you're going to have a more positive outcome. All right. So you're going to be working on learning to follow through. The gotta do's, right? The gotta do's are those behaviors that keep you at a healthy weight after you've lost that weight and help allow you to lose the weight to get there in the first place, and then allow you to engage in following through with doing things like I did today, aerial yoga. How fun was that? Tomorrow we're horseback riding. How fun is that? The next day we're going on a very busy walking tour of Washington, D.C. so you can do whatever the kinds of things that you want to do in your life. Got to stop self-sabotaging, stop destroying your progress. All right, so let's say that when you sabotage yourself, right, you're not necessarily destroying your progress, because again, those are some pretty tough words. But when you engage in those self-sabotaging behaviors, you're for sure interfering, right? You're interfering with that progress. It may set you back a little bit. And that's okay. I mean, it happens, it's going to happen. It's not a straight line to progress. But when you have a setback, let's look at, is there something I've done to sabotage my progress? And what can I do not to do that in the future? And there is great news, because you absolutely can. You can change the self-sabotaging habits that you've engaged in the past, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. And if, and this is a huge reality, my friends, if you're willing to do some work, none of this has been easy, right? Don't expect this to be easy either. It requires effort. The four ACEs, the E stands for effort. Any change in your life requires some effort. So if you're willing to do the effort, some big time, put in that big time and effort to stay on track with the program that's really been laid out for you. It's very scientifically researched. What I'm talking about is the bariatric system, right? Eating the protein first, eating at regular intervals, not skipping meals, making sure you get enough protein, enough water, doing the exercise. You know the drill, right? If you want to stay on this program, then you've got to do the gotta do'ems, which we've talked about, and you can get the gotta do'ems on my website, ConnieStapletonPhD.com. Print them off. And when you find yourself struggling to do them, in other words, when you find yourself wanting to return to those old habits, those old behaviors that got you in trouble with your weight in the first place, and that led to regain any time in the past that you've lost weight. So when you struggle to do them, if you find yourself engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors, then you need to get some help. And hopefully the information in this podcast or on this video will give you a start. But I would encourage you to take this further and get some professional help, either from a bariatric coach or a therapist, because it's very difficult for us to see ourselves when we're engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors. So, while I don't want to freak you out, I do want you to take this information very seriously, because for many of you, you have in the past, and I quote, gone back to old habits. You've sabotaged in the past. And if we keep doing the same thing over and over again without the recognition of our part in it, what am I doing that leads me back to this? Then you're just going to repeat that again. Remember what they say, the past is the best predictor of the future, until you learn what's tripping you up in that process. So don't panic. I know it's easy to do. Many people have learned, many people have overcome this. And it's not a one and done, right? You don't go, oh, yeah, okay, I self-sabotage. I guess I'll quit that. No. This is going to be a trial and error thing. And you're going to make some progress and you're going to fall back. You're going to make more progress. You're going to fall back. It's as long as there's, 3 steps forward and only 2 back, it's progress, right? So let's talk about some new skills to prevent you from returning to those old habits. We're going to talk about those in just a minute. First, let's talk about some examples of self-sabotage in the weight journey. I just had group therapy right before I started to record this, and we just had a holiday. And as happens with many holidays, people were saying it was very difficult to overlook the pretty colors and, the special candy made just for this particular holiday, which is true for any of them. Valentine's Day, Easter, St. Patrick's Day. I mean, you name it, there's junk made specifically for that holiday. And then the sales after the holiday, where you can go and get all the junk half off or even more, right? So those are examples of self-sabotage, engaging in those things out of habit or like, how can I resist this sale? Oh my gosh. That is stinking thinking and it's going to lead you to the old behaviors. What's going to happen when you have that crap in your house? You think it's just going to sit there? Not likely. Anyway, so self-sabotage, not surprisingly, and think about this for a minute. It begins in your mind. And I want you to think about this in terms of other areas in your life. People who have done things like shoplift or had affairs or done other self-sabotaging behaviors, in retrospect, they will tell you it all began in their mind. I really want this thing. I can't really afford it. I shouldn't shoplift. That's not a good thing to do. But I really want it, right? And we want what we want when we want it, do we not? And sometimes we go against our own values to get what we think we need to have to make ourselves feel better or feel more important or whatever it is. Think about affairs, right? It's like, oh, I know I shouldn't go out to have a drink with this person after work. I am married or they are married or they're in a relationship or whatever. But what's the harm in one drink, right? So we make a series of a little unhealthy decisions that leads to a big unhealthy decision. So we have to learn to catch our thoughts before we engage in the big bad no-no, right? We can't play with those guardrails. It's like, how far do we have to get up next to those guardrails before we cross the line? The lesson being, don't get so close. If you see the candy in the store, walk around it. If you know it's going to be there, don't go until a week later or have somebody go for you or order your stuff online so you don't tempt yourself with those old habits. Because this stuff, our behavior, begins in our minds. All right, which is the reason we say we're our own worst enemies. Who thought up the idea of going to get that candy that's on sale? Ooh, you did. Who thought up, gee, I can just have one? You did. Who thought, well, it won't hurt me this time? You did. Who thought, you know what? I deserve it. You did. So all of these self-sabotaging behaviors don't just happen in the spur of the moment. You may think they do, but if you look back retrospectively, it's like, what were you doing in that grocery store when you were hungry? What were you doing going into that drugstore when you knew the holiday candy was going to be on sale? You know these things. You know these at some level. And so when we're able to get really honest with ourselves, we can start making some changes, right? So, what happens most commonly is that our own minds become our biggest enemy, and these thoughts begin to severely affect our behaviors. So, I'm thinking about that candy. Well, I do go past that drugstore on the way home, and it is, I could give it to the grandkids when they come, or I could make little baskets for the people at. Come on. Another woman in group tonight said she made these holiday cookies because they had the candies in the shape of the holiday. She said, I didn't need to make cookies. I said I made them for my husband, but that was a load of crap, right? I made the cookies, told my husband to take them to work, and I let them sit there on the counter. And then I had half of one, and then I had another half. And then I thought, I'll just have one more half. And so began the binge, right? It starts in our minds. I think I'll just make some of those for my husband. Did your husband need them? Did your husband ask for them? Right? We create these, we conjure this stuff up by ourselves, right? So in the past, when you've started these diet programs or you've decided, this time it's it, and you're motivated like you are every time you start a diet, right? You begin with that, I can do this, I'm ready, this great positive can-do attitude, super motivated and believing I'm going to do this, and you do for a while. over time, whatever it is happens, life happened, or I got stressed, or my mom got sick, or my kid broke their leg, or, the sun came out on the wrong day, or whatever it is. The something happens and your determination starts to wane. And then you start having the nagging thoughts that maybe, I thought this was a good idea, but it's really hard. Gosh, this is really hard. Or I don't know why I bother trying. I don't know. Can I do this? I haven't been able to do it in the past. What makes it? No, negative spiral, negative spiral, negative spiral, right? The descent down that very, very, very slippery slope into the abyss of those old habits. They're like quicksand. Those old habits are like quicksand. You take a step in and you're stuck. And then you start doing what you've done in the past. Then the thoughts become worse and the behaviors become worse. And before you know it, you've thrown in the towel, right? So let's talk about what some of these self-sabotaging behaviors are and be honest with yourself. Think about how many of these are all too familiar to you. So self-sabotaging behaviors when it comes to lifestyle and healthy eating and weight loss are procrastinating. I'll start tomorrow. Better yet, I'll start next Monday and it's only Tuesday. Focusing on the end result instead of the journey. This is a major don't. Now, I got this list from an article online and I've added some as well, but I will share this list with you because it's so, so good. And I would take it to a support group. I would talk to your support people and I would say, these are the things that I tend to do. When I start going there, please, I'm inviting you to share with me that you're seeing me do these things. Don't focus on the end result. I'll be happy when I get to such and such a weight. I got to get to such and such a weight. The doctor says my goal weight. If you focus on that, you're missing out on the present, and that's going to be a while down the road. So focus on today. And at the end of today, say, this is what I did well. Even if you did things that weren't done so well, you can say, this is what I did well today. And this is how I followed through with my goals today. And that will get me to where I ultimately want to be. But all I have is today. Another self-sabotage is trying to rush your results by adopting this diet mindset. Get rid of a diet mindset, especially if you've had weight loss surgery. People are so programmed into living in this diet mindset that it's very difficult to let it go. These foods are bad, or I'm bad if I engage in this behavior, or it's all about the weight and the scale and the grams and the. Yes, you have to be mindful, but a diet mindset, I'm good or I'm bad, I'm all in or I'm all out, that is going to do nothing but set you back eventually. So get rid of the diet mindset. Restricting yourself. Now, I have a caveat. If you're a food addict and you know that sugar is going to send you into oblivion with sugar foods, then don't start, right? However, if you are able to have a cookie and be finished with it, if you are able to have a piece of candy and you're finished with it, you don't need to restrict yourself. If you're on a diet or if you've had weight loss surgery, you don't need to restrict yourself. You need to be reasonable. You don't get to have a cookie and a piece of candy and some ice cream and a donut all in the same day. Unless you want to gain your weight back, you can do whatever you want. This is your life. If you want to maintain weight loss or lose weight, then maybe you can have a piece of candy today. And that was delicious, and eat super healthy the rest of the day. Follow your guidelines, right? But you don't have to restrict yourself unless you have an addiction, in which case I highly do encourage people to restrict. All right. Focus in on the scale and weight loss. Don't even get me started on this. Don't even get me started. I've done so many messages and podcasts and videos about focus on the process. If you focus on the process, you will achieve your goals. Focus on, it's time for me to eat. When I eat protein first. I make sure I drink water in between my meals, but not for a half hour before or after. I make sure that I get in so many grams of this. I make sure that I, for the most part, stay away from highly processed foods. Focus on the process. That is the key to success. Not focusing on the outcome. It's going to mess you up. So, your choice, right? But thinking that weight loss has a deadline. Come on, you've got to know by now that this is going to do you in. If you have a specific goal and in the past you've gotten to that goal and then you're like, oh, I made it, game's over. If you do that again, you're going to get the same result. There is not an end number. There is not a deadline. A healthy lifestyle doesn't come with a goal weight. A healthy lifestyle doesn't come with an end date. A healthy lifestyle is a way of living your life one day at a time. Please quit trying to fight it and make it something it's not and will never, ever work. You can listen to all the podcasts and all the learning. And when you finally throw up your hands and say, I surrender. I'm going to do this one day at a time. And I'm going to do it one eating episode at a time. And I'm going to praise myself when I do it well. And quit looking at all these dieting behaviors. All right. Overthinking and allowing yourself to become overwhelmed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There are 12,000 things to do. And I just can't. It's too much. And I have to meet this goal by that day. And I have to do this. For today, I eat at these increments. For today, I consume protein before I eat anything else. For today, I drink this much water. For today, I do something to move my body. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 45 minutes, I do something to move my body. We've talked about negative self-talk ad nauseum. This is going to be one of the worst things that will sabotage you. Every time you start thinking negative, you're going to go down that slope. And every time you go down that slope, it's going to end in negative behavior. Thoughts, feelings, behavior. You can't separate them. So get on top of that thinking. Start becoming aware of that stinking thinking and change it. Being defensive. Don't tell me what I can eat. Don't call me out on that. Don't tell me I said I would do this and I'm not doing that. Being defensive, again, it's about protection, but it's also an indication that, you're doing something that is going to lead you to a healthy place, right? If you skip your training sessions, if you skip your therapy sessions, if you skip your dietitian sessions, if you skip your group sessions, if you skip your support groups, or not doing the things that you know will move you closer, down that slope you go, zoom. If you avoid being accountable, you don't do the tracker, you don't check in with your accountability person, you don't log your food, you don't log your exercise, you don't make your meal plan, you don't have healthy foods on hand. You make excuses. You've got to be accountable. I have ball games today. That means I take a cooler and it's got these sources of protein in it. Not, gee, who knew my kids had ball practice today? I guess I'm going to just have to go to fast food. BS. You're not being accountable. And not being accountable is a self-sabotaging behavior. Here's another great one. Comparing yourself to other people. Ooh, they've lost more, they've regained, or they look better in those than I do, and I can't wear that size. Set up for failure. People pleasing. We've done episodes on that too. If you're a people pleaser, you're in big trouble with self-sabotage. If you cannot put yourself first or set boundaries, you need to learn to do so, because you're going to just fall flat on your face and end up back where you started. Shutting down and retreating in yourself. I don't want to talk about it. Well, you might not want to talk about it now, but let's talk about it later, because keeping all of this in is going to lead to one thing. I'm mad at myself. It's going to lead to negative thinking. It's going to lead to unhealthy eating behaviors, blah, blah, blah. Down you go, right? Not asking for help when you need it. Oh, that's okay for other people, but not for me. Come on. Not taking responsibility, getting angry or blaming other people when things don't go your way. Childish behavior. We got to grow up, my friends. We've got to grow up. We've got to hold ourselves accountable. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. Well, I'm sorry. Maybe your kid doesn't feel like going to ball practice, but they're on a team and you make them go. Hold yourself to the same standards you hold your young children to. Trying to be perfect ain't going to happen. Big setup. Hanging out with negative people, big setup, big self-sabotage, right? Staying up late, not getting enough sleep. We've got to get enough sleep. Or looking for people who are just going to tell you what you want to hear. Oh, it's okay that you ate a dozen cookies. No, it's not okay. What can I do to help make sure that doesn't happen again? I'm sad for you. I'm scared for you. I love you. I will do what I can, but I'm not going to condone unhealthy behavior. That's the kind of people you need in your life. Finding excuses. Ding, ding, ding. We're all big excuse makers. I don't have time. Make time. I know there are times when that is legitimate, but it's not as often as we use it as an excuse, right? Oh, I can't take time off for this. I have to work. I have to work. I have to work. Tonight we talked about in group 2, we get addicted to drama and conflict. And it's like, oh, I get myself so worked up about everything, my family's issues and my kids' issues and my sisters. I don't have time to exercise. I got to stay all drawn up in the arse, as my dad would say. Why are you all drawn up in the arse? So settle it down, get to work doing what you need to do, making your health a priority. Being more concerned about where other people are at instead of focusing on your own progress. Oh, they're not doing so well. Or focusing on your spouse's drinking problem instead of your eating problem, or focusing on your child's. You do need to focus on your children's behaviors, but you need to focus on your own as well. Being a know-it-all, right? Let me tell you, I knew it all after a year of being in recovery recovery from my addiction. Boy, I knew it all. And how many post-ops that are in the honeymoon period know it all? By God, they know it all how it's done. You've seen them, you've heard them, and that can be a setup because you don't know it all. None of us ever know it all. I am so far from knowing it all that the more I don't know, the more I know I don't know. So keep learning, keep realizing that even though you're losing that weight in those first 2 years, you don't got it all together. None of us ever have it all together. So stay diligent and stay on top of the good habits. Being very criticizing of other people, gossiping about other people, judging other people, what this does is it takes the focus off of what you need to be doing for yourself, right? It's easier to point the finger than look at the ones pointing at you. You've heard that before. Here's some additional signs of self-sabotage. Eating in secret, going to the grocery store when you're hungry, setting yourself up for failure, right? Not packing healthy snacks at all times, so you don't have to have an excuse to go to the vending machine or the fast food. Pack those snacks. Setting unreasonable goals, going to set you up for failure every time. The all or nothing thinking, disastrous. Focusing on the past, especially mistakes, because again, we're talking about our thinking, right? The thinking is often what leads to the negative spiral and ultimately the self-sabotaging behavior, catastrophizing. Oh no, I ate something I wish I hadn't. Oh, I might as well just quit the whole thing. Get over yourself, pick yourself up. I'm an adult. I made a mistake. What do you tell your kid when they strike out? Never play ball again? Or do you say, everybody strikes out. That batting experience is over. Let's move on to the next one. Can you tell it's baseball season in my life? All right. So that's an amazing list. Amazing. But there are so many more, and you may have your own very unique ways of self-sabotaging. I would share those with other people, right? But I would post this list, copy it off, type it off, do something, post it, share it with your friends so they can help hold you accountable. We don't do a good enough job on our own because sometimes we don't see it. All right, so why do we self-sabotage? Okay, you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, and I'm not making this up. Everything I look at and research about self-sabotage says the same thing. It's mostly spurred by ding, ding, ding. I'm not telling you yet. All right. So, but I will tell you, you're not going to be surprised when you hear it. I'm going to give you an example that was said by a woman named Debbie Ford. She's a best-selling author and speaker and the founder of the Ford Institute of Integrative Coaching. What she says about self-sabotage, because people self-sabotage them with their jobs, with, parenting, relationships. It's not just food. We are good at self-sabotaging. But here's what she says. Get ready. Self-sabotage is the outer manifestation of our inner feelings of shame, anger, and unworthiness. Let me repeat that because you've heard it before. You've heard me say, if you don't improve your self-esteem, if you've had weight loss and regain time after time after time, the problem lies in you quit doing what works. You quit doing what works. So as I said at the very beginning, if you don't engage in behaviors that work and stay with the program, you're going to get what you always got. Regain again. We don't want that. So again, Debbie Ford, self-sabotage is the outer manifestation of our inner feelings of shame, anger, and unworthiness. She goes on, at the heart of the matter, we only create as much love, fulfillment, success, and joy as we feel worthy of having. I know, it sucks, and it's the same message time after time. There's a saying, if 10 people tell you you have a tail, you might want to turn around and take a look. So if you look at source after source after source about weight regain, about self-sabotage, about leading back to old habits, a lot of it boils down to we got an inner problem with our self-worth. Our low self-esteem often comes from having experienced shame. So we've got to take a look at that. One of the best ways to do it is to take my class, Gain While You Lose. That is what we do. We look at how we self-sabotage because we don't feel worthy. We carry shame. We were told we weren't worth it. We picked up that message, even if it wasn't told to us directly. We were teased at school by all the kids, and so we feel like we're not good enough, we're not worthy. If you've struggled with weight loss and regain many times, please stop fighting and take some time to do the hard inner work. All right. In the past 2 episodes of Bariatric Care, we've talked about how low self-esteem and identifying as someone who can't do this weight loss thing will be evidenced by the way you treat yourself. That's what this woman was saying when she says the outward manifestation of our inner feelings. We treat ourselves, we behave in ways that reflect how we feel. You've heard that in the past couple of episodes. So again, the message is, if you're struggling to maintain weight loss due to the behaviors you engage in, going back to the same old habits, and hear me, I understand there are biological influences that affect regain. I'm not saying it's all about low self-esteem. I know there are things like PCOS and medications that you take and other issues. I know those are a reality. But if you know in your heart of hearts that it's all related to going back to eating unhealthy foods and not exercising, then you need to do the deep dive into this emotional work, right? So please get some help. A bariatric coach, and you know I love Tabitha Johnson, the real Berry Boss, right? She's in the show notes. Or see a therapist, see your bariatric dietitian, get the help you need. Do whatever it takes because you are worth it. You are worth it. And you need to start believing that from the inside out. And I get it. Who wants to cop to having low self-esteem? I surely didn't. I wanted to protect myself. I wanted to protect the family I came from, where a lot of the shame that I carried with me originated. It's not about blaming them. It's just about saying, this is what happened in my life. This is how it affected me. And now, as an adult, I'm the only one who could do something about it without blaming other people. All right. So it doesn't mean you don't value yourself in many areas of your life, but there's likely something going on in that head of yours that's stuck, at least in relation to how you treat yourself in terms of food and exercise. So again, please, please, please take that leap of faith. Do yourself a huge favor. See a therapist. If you've got a pattern of self-sabotage or weight regain that is directly related to you going back to unhealthy habits, and it's pretty clear that your weight regain is related to what's going in your mouth and not working out your body, then you need to look at this. I promise you, it's related. So surgery, if that's your option, does help you get the weight off, and so do other diets. But it's not going to prevent regain if you return to those old self-sabotaging behaviors that you make 1,000 excuses for. The last episode was dedicated to negative self-talk. And professionals agree that negative thoughts about yourself and your ability to lose weight are going to undermine continuing weight loss efforts. So you gotta be mindful of what you say to yourself and what you think to yourself about yourself and your ability to succeed if you have any chance of getting this weight off and keeping it off, right? Surgery, no surgery. Another culprit that could be underlying self-sabotaging behaviors is emotional eating, right? But emotional eating also is an unhealthy behavior. It's related sometimes to negative self-worth. But it may not be. It may just be a habit. So if you're an emotional eater, then what you got to do is understand you need to learn coping skills. If your coping skill is food, then you need to trade it out for something healthier. And if you have a food addiction, please remember, weight loss surgery can treat it. There's a book about that. Oh yeah, I wrote that book. Yeah, weight loss surgery does not treat food addiction, nor does it treat emotional eating. You've got to get additional help to treat both of those. And a lot of it comes in the form of learning coping skills to deal with emotions in healthy ways. So emotional eating absolutely can be overcome when you learn new skills so that you can overcome. I've done podcast episodes. I've done videos about that in the past. I'm going to do more in the future because this is a big deal. I also have worksheets on my website about stopping emotional eating. There are books on it. Do the work, be responsible, and get the help you need. Read, listen, go to therapy, take charge of your process and learn coping skills. And then, hello, you got to implement them. You know that, right? Sometimes self-sabotage is about fear of failure. Sometimes it's about fear of success. I'm not going to go in those today because I'm doing episodes on them in the next couple of weeks. So watch out, listen for those, all right? So how do you overcome this self-sabotage thing, right? You know, when you start experiencing that fear, am I going to succeed? Am I afraid to fail? I'm afraid to ask yourself, what am I afraid to do? Am I afraid to go to the gym? Am I afraid to be by myself? Am I afraid to feel loneliness? Am I afraid to feel sadness? Or the answer might be a faulty belief, like telling yourself you're a failure. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of feeling like a failure. You could be trying to protect yourself from shame or embarrassment. Maybe you think you'll look like a fool if you go to the gym, right? Always awareness is the first step of change. So ask yourself, what the heck is it I'm really afraid of here? Really go deeper, 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 right? Noticing a fear is the first step to overcoming it. Also, you can slowly break out of old patterns. Occasional treats are fine. But if you often think of food as a reward, I've had a rough day, I deserve a cookie. I've had a rough day, Mommy, I don't feel like doing my homework. Come on, we don't let our kids get away with that. Don't let yourself get away with it, right? All right. So if you're making excuses or if you're using food as a reward, come on, that's a red flag. It's not going to work. Dig a bit deeper. When you're tempted to give into this reward nonsense, take 5 minutes to write down what's going on. I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm angry with the boss, I'm upset with my mother. And then deal with that real issue, right? Deal with the real issue. You don't deserve a reward for being an adult. All right, so think about the negative automatic thinking, right? Engage in that committee in your head. We talked about that in the last episode. Go listen to it. Remember, you've got a critical parent. How dare you eat that? It's so bad. And then you've got a child that says, I want it, I want it, I want it. You also have a healthy adult that says, of course you want it. It's neither good nor bad, but it will interfere with your progress. So let's say no this time. All right, set yourself up for success. Set realistic goals. Not I'm going to lose 25 pounds this week. I'm going to lose 2 pounds this week. I'm going to engage in my gotta do-ums 4 days out of 7 this week. Stay in the day. Don't get ahead of yourself. Avoid getting too big for your britches, literally and figuratively, right? So, people say, oh, they're too big for their britches. You think you got it all figured out? You're probably too big for your britches in your head, right? You got this ego thing going on. I got this. Or you're going to end up literally being too big for your britches. So remember, stay in the day. You don't have it all. Do what you need to do. Have an open mind to learning. Get enough sleep. Engage in assistance and get support. Get some sun. There's all this research on vitamin D and how important that is for every part of our lives. Learn to do stress. What happened? Life happened. That means I got stressed, right? I was dealing with stress. Learn, breathe, yoga, meditation, walk. I don't care. Do something. Engage in Berry Aftercare, the whole program. There's constant messages throughout the day. Go to www.berryaftercare.com. Go now. All right, here's your 3 take-home messages from today. The bottom line is the bottom line, which is you can overcome self-sabotage if you're going to do the work it takes. Nobody can get you to that place until you yourself are ready and willing. So nobody can do this for you. You can't do it alone. Get the help you need and dig in and do it. Change requires change. If everything stays the same, then nothing changes, right? If you continue to do the same things you've always done, don't expect change. That's magical thinking. Healthy adults don't engage in magical thinking. All right, stick to the healthy lifestyle habits, right? Learn the tools to do so. All right. So, invitations for you this week. Listen to this again if you need to. Ask your friends to listen to it with you. Ask your support people to do it. And then literally take the list of ways to sabotage yourself. Be honest about the ones you engage in, and then list others that you do. And for 3 solid days, write down anything you've done to sabotage yourself so that you build awareness. Maybe get a buddy to do it with you. Do it with your family. It doesn't have to be in relation to eating. Have them do it in something that they're in a way that they're sabotaging themselves, maybe with homework or chores or, watching too much TV. So participate in this with the people you love, right? Get everybody involved because we want to teach our families to be healthier versions of themselves, right? So next week on Berry Aftercare, the podcast and the video, how expectations can get you in trouble. Expectations can be a source of self-sabotage. What's also going on Berry Aftercare this weekend next, there's going to be a yoga video, there's going to be relaxation, great inspirational messages that you get throughout the day. This is all part of the Berry Aftercare program. We've got a cooking demonstration online this week with Chef Healthy Henry. Stay in the day, attend your support groups, journal, read, do what works for you. As always, keep in mind that we are talking about your health, right? Your health is your responsibility this day and every day. And as so many of us can attest to, we can learn and grow and outgrow self-sabotaging behaviors. Maybe not always, but in large measure. So do your thing and join me again next time. Again, I do thank you for my very fair but firm messages, because I know you can do more than what you're doing. You know you can do more than what you're doing. So let's do more together. See you next time. Bye bye.